Hey guys, so I've got a document here called As Per Your Fraud by the wonderful Kate of Gaia, who sent me the link to this last night, and I spent this morning reading it. I mean, obviously my previous videos I've been pushing this document right here, and I was really excited when I got my seal here. Kate's come along, burst my bubble, and told me that all of that's null and void because it's all fraudulent. Because when I went to see Mr. Julian, the notary, in order to get him to notarise this document, I had to show him ID. And obviously this ID was created off of this document right here, which is my birth certificate. And at the bottom of this document, you'll see that it says, warning, a certificate is not evidence of identity, and caution, there are offences relating to falsifying or altering a certificate and using or possessing a false certificate. And we've got Crown copyright. Now I thought I'd copyrighted my name in April. But how can I copyright something that's Crown copyrighted? The Crown own this person. I have nothing to do with this. It's nothing to do with me. Now, initially I knew that I wasn't this person, but I didn't know it was nothing to do with me. Like, I thought, okay, it's not me, there's me, and then there's this paper me, and I can control this paper me. Well, Dean Clifford can't do it, so I certainly can't do it. I'm not going to take that road. I've noticed a lot of free men are getting locked up, they're going to prison. And I'm thinking, right, well, I don't want that to happen to me. I know I'm not this person, so I need to find out what it is. I spoke to Kate, who, although she burst my bubble, I know exactly where I stand now. At least the fear's gone, because it's their deception. So they're the ones that are in the wrong. So I've got this document here now, As Per Your Fraud, which I will write a covering notice to. And I will send it to the 6 heads of state that I sent the initial notice of understanding to, along with a new understanding, just because I think it's courteous of me. I've come and disrupted quite a lot for them, I imagine, so I suppose it's courteous of me to tell them why. And maybe, and I mean, I still have faith in people, so I think, okay, if this is how bad it really is, maybe some of them don't know what's really going on, and we're just giving them their last chance really to wake up to it. And if they don't, and if they read these documents and they consciously choose to carry on with what they're doing, then that's their own choice, because this is a spiritual contract, and if they're doing it knowingly, wow, shame on them, shame on them. So this is, I'm going to read this one to you now. As Per Your Fraud by Kate of Gaia. To whom it may concern. A vast fraud upon all of humanity has recently come to my attention, and something you may or may not be aware of, depending on your job role title as it relates to government, post office, legal, lawful, occupations, law enforcement, military, etc. There is much confusion with many in that one's true name given to them is presumed to only be a legal name, which it is certainly not. The fraud is presuming one is automatically a legal name in things like mortgages, loans, tickets, fines, taxes, etc., where in fact no disclosure of the intent to commit fraud, entice a human into slavery via deception, etc., et al., from the true owner of all legal name copyrights, namely the owners or others of the Crown Corporation, has never and was never offered, rendering all things legal, lawful, null and void, since it is based on fraudulent intent ab initio, which means forever, I think. As a case in point, if someone were to know the difference between the legal name and their true name, which sounds the same, they would be immediately in contempt of every court on this planet if they set foot in one knowing this, but would also be deemed crazy for even being there, if even only to explain this mistake of assumption, presumption, deception, every judge, justice, mayor, chief justice would instantly be guilty of aiding and abetting fraud, which they are anyway based on their own rules, if someone made this known to them in a bar crown courtroom. So that's why I'm not going to my court date, because it's not mine, it's theirs. They've created this person. And if I go there, even to just say it's not me, they'll think I'm crazy, because if they'll be thinking, well, if it's not you, why are you here? See what I mean? So this is why I'm going to send this to them. We're going to leave it open, and see what they say. See what they say. Do they want me to commit fraud and come there knowing it's not me? So, while it is not and never my intent to harm anyone, it is also not my intent to place anyone who is knowingly, unknowingly taking an active role in the thefts, slavery and murdering spiritually of humanity as a whole in an aiding and abetting fraud exposed position such as a judge in their courtroom, where their only defence of that exposure is to lock someone up or send them for a psych eval, etc. Regardless again of the fact that it would just be my intent to help see the frauds they are enabling every day for their police law enforcement masters whom they work for, and not the other way around, because this is a matter of the heart. That those that judge others the very thing they need to judge within themselves. Unfortunately, their programs of graft and protocol run too deep in their 2D paper world, and it will always be presumed that I am somehow the legal name, that I know I am not, but every judge would have enough self-serving justification to claim such a thing. Anyway, their greed and corrupted by power ego will only perceive me as a threat to their delusional lifestyles. Sorry, I don't do crazy, and I don't pick fights with anyone, especially those with preconditioned and programmed psychopathies or sociopathic tendencies that only spend their days inflicting harm upon innocent people based on the legal name fraud. So I don't want to put a judge in a position, so I go to court on the 26th and I put a judge in a position to lock me up or have me put in a mental place for saying that I'm not this person that you're presuming I am, but I'm here saying I'm not this person. That's crazy. I'm just not going to go. I'm going to write to them and I'm just going to say, no, sorry, I don't want to. I'm not I'm not doing it. I hope this works. I really hope this works. So, just because a thief has the ability to steal what they can never justifies a thief's stolen property just because they're good at stealing. It is a simple case of damned if you do and damned if you don't. If one carries any form of fraudulent identification, which can only be created after the fact of the birth certificate intent to commit fraud on every mother, father and child. It is a fact that a birth certificate is not evidence of identity, yet all forms of identification can only be obtained upon the presentment of this intent to commit fraud evidence document. It's quite simple, really. As another simple example of this, nothing in the legal commerce world can or would exist without this legal name fraud. It puts everyone using all forms of legal identification immediately in a state of false impersonation, fraud and countless other capital crimes for the mere free will, consent and thinking one actually is a legal name, which they are certainly not. A legal name only exists on paper in a flat earth two-dimensional paper sea, where those defrauded via deception into using one, thinking they are one, are the very ones that give this dead by consent fictional reality its existence at all. It's really quite insane when you think about it. When one uses the fraudulent legal name identification, one's own body is presumed property of the Crown by virtue of the GIFT. See Black's law gamete intrafallopian transfer, i.e. the point of conception of the given name, a result of non-disclosure of this fact to all who register their child, pronounced killed as per Phoenician law, inasmuch as they are also likely registered themselves. So remember, everything is registered. Your children, your marriage, your house, your bank account, your car, everything is registered. Okay, so we've got, as per as per the same fraud perpetrated on their mother and father. The delineation here is quite clear, where the Crown presumes ownership of the physical body via this fraud, where the true living spirit, completely separate from the physical, is in control of that vessel and not of that vessel. Visit a local funeral home to verify lack of spirit in a dead body to see the difference between life source consciousness, present, absent. All material world is dead when it is void of life source consciousness, i.e. humans, animals, birds, insects, plants, etc. As an example, it is the same as someone stealing your car that you think you own, but mum and dad sold or gifted it as a conception on the assembly line, and then take the car with you in it to the crusher and all the doors are locked, seemingly. Permanently. Well, the doors are unlocked now, where it can no longer be presumed that I have anything to do with the legal name, regardless of any all identification, because the original sin, crime, intent to deceive, aid and abet fraud already belongs to the owners of the Crown Corporation. While much confusion and ignorance of this fact eludes most law enforcement bar member Crown oath, it does not elude me. Therefore, number 1, it is not my intent to commit fraud, nor aid and abet anyone else into the same commission, omission thereof, where assumption, presumption of any all legal names, aliases, joinder via bearing false witness, etc. et al. Are concerned, and 2, any all attempts by, of, for any all who presume me, the life source consciousness within my body, reclaimed will be deemed high treason against the creator of all its